Hey, I'm Randy, and you're watching The Cheap Audio Man. Here at The Cheap Audio Man, we help everyone find high-value hi-fi home theater and headphone equipment. And today, we're doing something a little bit different. I thought I would take some final thoughts clips from a whole bunch of speaker videos. Well, not a whole bunch, like 3 or 4, and put them together. That way you don't have to watch the entirety of the boring video. So we have the Wharfdale Linton, the SVS Prime Tower, and I think a speaker shootout. That's 8 speakers in the time it would take you to watch one review. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about a super speaker review. What are my final thoughts? Final thoughts are, man, this speaker's good. I mean, it's very smooth. The presentation, the tone of this speaker is one of the more accurate presentations that I've heard. Things just sound like they should sound, like pianos or cymbals or voices especially, just remarkable. The other thing that's remarkable about this speaker is its ability to place things in space. Its ability to divide the back end of the soundstage into different levels and put musicians and things at different levels. The immersive experience of this speaker is truly amazing. It reminds me a little bit of the debut reference from ELAC. It's just better with soundstage, way better mid-range with voices, way higher soundstage. This speaker is taking a performance and making it, reproducing it to a really believable level in my room. And we're starting to step up here in price. $1,500. I mean, really $1,800 if you're getting the stands. So that's almost $2,000. However, that's cheaper than the KLH Model 5s. That's cheaper than the Klipsch Heresies. That is slightly more expensive than the Wharfdale Evo 4.2s. I think these are both great speakers. The Evo 4.2s, fantastic speaker. A little bit more fickle with placement, height, how you get them dialed in. The Lintons are a little bit easier. You can put them up, and yes, you need to mess around with their tone and things like that. But I was able to get them into a sweet spot way quicker than the Evo 4.2s. I think the Evo 4.2s have a little bit more detail, and I think their tone is pretty good too. But if it's me, I am getting the Lintons over the Evo 4.2s. I think they're both outstanding speakers, but this one is more to my preference. It's laid back enough that you can just listen to it for a long, long time. But it's detailed enough, and the thing that's really special about this speaker is just how realistic drums, percussion sound, voices are remarkably realistic. And I don't necessarily think it has to do with, yes, the tone is very good. The tone is very accurate. But the way that they put things in space, it feels like there's somebody behind your TV or behind the wall that's singing to you. And combining that with the great tonal characteristics of the speaker and the great sound staging characteristics of the speaker just is an immersive experience that I just can't get over. This I am going to be emailing folks over at Wharfdale, see if I can buy this, because I love it. I love this speaker. It is not going to be the speaker for everybody, especially people that are looking for the last amount of detail. If detail and utter microscopic accuracy of cymbals, if that's your deal, this is probably not the speaker for you. But if you like to just chill out and listen to music and enjoy it and be surprised, getting surprised by the music. Wow, that's really cool. Oh, that's really far back. This is the speaker that's doing it. It makes me want to listen to more tracks in their entirety. I'm not skipping through anything. The drum fill on Give Me One Reason was so realistic. Again, this speaker made me snap myself out of whatever I was doing just to kind of sit back in awe. This speaker is equally as impressive at lower volumes as it is at higher volumes. I'm blown away. I love this thing. May not be for everybody, but if you get a chance to listen to these, I would take advantage of it. What are my final thoughts? Final thoughts on the SVS Prime Tower is this is a very good, what I would call a Goldilocks speaker for both music and movies and television. There's plenty of cleanliness, plenty of detail, so dialogue is going to sound fantastic. It's not as emphasized in any specific frequency response, so for music lovers, for people that want a more linear frequency response, the SVS Prime is probably going to be a better fit for those over what I would call the Klipsch. As far as comparing this to the Emotiva T1 Plus, they have some similar characteristics. The difference is I think the T1 Plus has a bit more clarity on the top end, but the SVS Prime Tower does a better job of imaging and soundstage while still maintaining that excitement on top. If you're looking for mid-range warmth or overall warm sound signature, the SVS Prime Tower probably isn't for you. But if you're looking for a speaker that's going to handle music and movies perfectly, at a very competitive price point, then I think you should take a hard look at these. The Emotiva T1 Plus comes in around $700 for a pair. So this one is $500 more expensive. The Klipsch RP6000F I think come in around the same price. So I think there's three choices here. The Klipsch, very exciting, very forward, lively presentation, not necessarily as linear as a lot of people would like. Some people are going to love that sound signature for music, some people aren't. The SVS has a sound signature that a lot of people are going to enjoy, but if one loves Klipsch, they should probably stick with Klipsch. If one wants something more balanced, then the Prime is more balanced than the Klipsch. But the Klipsch RP6000F is going to hit like a hammer, or a sailor on leave. Overall, the SVS is built wonderfully, sounds great, has a cool leaning in the mids and the treble, has that aluminum dome sound signature, but it's not too much. Very balanced, great looking speaker, and is going to do a great job with music and movies. If you put a little bit of EQ on these, you're going to be able to warm them up if you want, maybe bring down the treble if you want to. This speaker takes EQ really well because it's very in the middle already. And it already sounds good, so if you want to tweak things, you certainly can. A lot of AVR receivers have built-in EQs. I love the size because this can fit in most people's living room or most people's bedroom. It's not huge. It's not nearly as deep as the Klipsch. A lot of versatility to this. You can put them up against the wall for movies and TV, and you can bring them out a little bit into the room if you're listening to music. I'm not saying you have to do that, but you're going to get an improvement on the soundstage and imaging. You're going to reduce any boominess in the bass. But the good thing about the bass on this is it's not so prominent that having it close to the wall is really going to muddy things up or cover up the mids. It's a very good, very balanced speaker. And I'm not saying I'm surprised that it's this refined, but it's very refined. And I'm so glad it exists because this is a fantastic choice among the tower speakers that are in this price category. I don't think you're going to be disappointed if you pick up the SVS Prime Towers. Final thoughts are, all of these speakers are really good and they have their places. If you want just a party speaker, you're not really concerned at all with a linear frequency response, the XT20, especially when it goes on sale for $225, is pretty awesome because there is a lot of bass quantity that comes out of here. Mid-range is a little scooped out. Treble is sparkly, dazzly, not the most refined thing on the planet. Decay isn't that natural, but it still sounds really good. And for $225, this is a fun speaker. Dayton Audio surprised the heck out of me. The one drawback is there's not a ton of bass here. And even when I tried to use tone controls, it didn't really sound all that great. So if you're considering the Dayton Audios, you may want to do it in a near field application, and you may want to have a subwoofer that you can blend in. All of these speakers are going to benefit from a subwoofer. But the ES15 by Polk, the Stage A130, and even the Sony SSCS5, with proper placement, you can get a good enough bass response. XT20's got the most bass on the table. Quantity, not necessarily quality. Stage A130, remarkably awesome for $200. Very good soundstage, very good imaging, very good mid-range. a hint of that metallic tweeter on the top end. But if you listen to it for a while, that kind of goes away. Can be slightly forward, but for the most part, it doesn't bother me at all. You can also control that with a little bit of toe in. Sony SSCS5, what I would consider to be the reigning champion, I think still deserves that moniker. Can be a bit forward in the mid-range for some. Can be a little bit lean in the bass for some. But the quality of the sound coming out of the speaker is completely remarkable. Even at its retail price of $170, I think this is a speaker to consider. However, I wouldn't buy it at $170. $130, yes. $80, yes. Every time it goes down to $80, I just buy another pair. Probably the most impressive speaker on the table for shorter listening periods. For longer listening periods, I think the ES15 from Polk is going to be the runaway winner. It has a warmer tone, great bass quantity, great bass quality. It can get maybe a little bit muddy in between the bass and the mid-range, but that kind of lends itself to the smoothness, the richness of the mid-range tones. Not too covered up, nothing like the S15. This is a really good speaker. Also probably the best built on the table in my opinion. Very good speaker. Not going to be as exciting sounding as these two or this one. Probably really any of them, but I think is one of the more refined speakers up here. Whichever way you go really depends on what you're wanting out of a speaker. They're all really good, and they're all surprisingly good for their price point. If I'm only choosing two though, I'm choosing the Sony or the Polk ES15. It's AJ130, I like it a lot. Party speaker. This one's good for $150, just not a lot of bass. I thought at the end I was going to say there's no reason to get the R100s because they are pretty similar in price, even at the retail, $650 and $750, but they will go on sale. This one often goes down to $650 or even lower. I just thought, why even get the R100s? Just pay a titch more and get the R200s or wait till the R200s are on sale. They're different sounding speakers. It's not just a question of, oh, you want a bigger sound, or if you have a bigger room, get the R200s. They're a different sounding speaker. Yes, they sound similar, especially in the treble area, but mid-range and bass, they sound quite a bit different. The 100 is cooler. The 200 is a little bit richer, a little bit warmer. I think which one you get is going to come down to your musical preference. I don't like saying this because I don't think a speaker should favor one genre of music over the other. I think a speaker, a good one, should play all genres well. But in this case, I think the 200s are going to play better with electronic music, EDM, or whatever you want to call it, rock and roll, metal. Our 200s are more dynamic. They go from soft to loud a lot better. They obviously handle heavier hits. The 100s are still good. They seem a little bit more constrained in comparison. The biggest surprise for me is that if I could only choose one of these speakers, it would be the R100. And I didn't think I was going to say that. I think the R100s outperform the R200s in pretty much every category, except for treble. Treble's pretty much the same. Mid-range, the vibe is different. This is a little bit more warmer, a little bit more cooler. Bass is faster, bass is punchier. Overall though, I think the 100 just does a better job and is more articulate across everything when it comes to the music. Bigger depth of soundstage, hits harder. But for me, the one speaker I would keep, if I could only keep one, would be the 100s. And again, that blew me away. I didn't think I'd be saying that. I still don't think you can go wrong with either one of them. I think the R200 is a fantastic speaker and it won Speaker of the Year. So you might be saying, well, why didn't the R100 win Speaker of the Year? Well, I didn't do this comparison yet. So I didn't really A-B them directly. I was going off of memory and I was going off of being impressed. In a near-field situation, I think the 100s are the obvious answer. I think these are too big, and they're going to be too close to a wall. You're going to lose more mid-range clarity, and the bass is probably going to become boomy. By themselves, this bass is not boomy. It's just boomier than the R100s. So I don't think you can really go wrong with either of them. I think this is more articulate.